jumping straight in, gang's back together. What's it like being back together for the festival?
I hate these people.
It's great. Sarah, Zach, and I got here 2 days ago, and we partied a little bit. And then these guys came in. Bill got in the morning yesterday. We partied a little bit. And then last night, everybody else got in, and we partied a little bit more. So it's just like old times.
Pulled an all-nighter, and now...
And then went right to work.
It's so nostalgic last night to be sitting around with the gang telling old stories and talking about all the people we love and stuff. It's really I'm not an emotional guy usually. And the first thing Donald said to me this morning was, he said, "You almost cried last night," which is so grade school, by the way. I'm still mad about it. but I did. It made me really happy.
What was it that almost got you?
For me, it was seeing everybody again. I love all these people. I don't just want to work with them. I like being around them. And then walking down the streets of Austin as a group for dinner, and having people that were just going out to have a night do double takes and go, "You from Scrubs?"
We changed streets on the way home from dinner because there were so many drunk people that it was becoming hard to get home.
Well, I think it would be overwhelming to be drunk on the streets of Austin.
And the entire cast of Scrubs walking by.
Not just one of you. I mean, it's the entire cast.
Yeah, we were walking in one group.
We've hung out over the years, but this is the first time in years, obviously, since the beginning of the pandemic, that we've all done this. And Bill took us for this amazing dinner last night, and we were like, "Thanks for dinner, Bill, and thanks for a career."
Right,
by
pretty
the way,
much,
because
yeah.
this job changed
all of our lives.
And not just your lives. I mean, one of the things that we hear time and time again from medical professionals is this was the show that made them want to get into medicine.
Of all of the medical shows, this is what universally doctors and nurses say was the most accurate. I think that's such a testament to Bill, because he always said, "We're going to be very silly sometimes, but I always want the medicine to be completely accurate so it balances it out."
Bill, you're not a doctor.
Not yet.
I'm not a doctor, but I guarantee you everybody on the panel agrees the one thing from this TV show more than any gig I've ever had is you and your entire extended family use it whenever you're in a medical situation at a hospital. Whenever you're in a hospital or getting a surgery, just to be like,
I know.
"You guys are the Scrubs. Make sure I don't die."
Do you guys get a lot of calls from friends saying, "Hey, I know you're not a real doctor, but I've got this condition"?
No, but we all call, this is inspired by Bill's college buddy, a doctor, cardiologist now named John Doris. And I don't know about you guys, but we almost all call him as a second we have a medical problem. Because I text him, I'm like, "Does this look bad?"
Definitely a mistake to give up me his number. I'm kind of a hypochondriac a little bit.
Kinda.
He's the real JD, so we call him Real. So we're always like, "Real, we have a problem."
And he was your college roommate?
My college roommate. He ended up having Dr. Kelce's job. He's in the news for giving the first vaccine in LA. He ran the vaccine program for all kinds. A huge cardiologist and surgeon out there. He doesn't go by JD anymore because he said it's too exhausting to keep explaining to med students. So he goes by John now. He's like, "I can't, when I'm trying to tell somebody to not kill someone, it's too hard for me when they go, was it all based on you? Who's Elliot?"
So when you went to school together and you guys were roommates, you probably saw him partying. I mean,
Dude, he was a disaster.
Really?
Yeah, this show exists on some level because I said my nightmare, knowing who he was in his early 20s, would be to wake up in an emergency room and see that idiot over me. "You're going to be fine, man." And I'd be like, "I don't feel good about this at all."
And that's what we saw in the show.
He's a great guy, though. Great. And this is good Scrubs trivia. You guys see if you guys can get it. Elliot is based on JD's wife. Do you know JD's wife's name? Because I'm bad at naming characters, I named another character after her on our show.
Dolly Molly
Clark. Heather Graham played
Heather
Molly
Graham,
Clark,
right.
who's Dolly Clark. Dolly is JD's wife, who is actually Elliot.
Is it hard to keep track of all the people you have had on the show?
Yeah, it's a testament to aging. It's really hard. And I just started watching the episodes now. My child is watching the show. So they're always asking me questions. "When you did this, did that happen?" I was like,
Did all your kids watch?
No.
My youngest, Henry, he's 15. He finally, because he resisted, and then he finally watched it during the, when we were all kind of locked up. And so underwhelming, by the way. I know he enjoyed it, but he's a cool 15-year-old. And I walked in when he was finishing the 8th season, and I go, "What'd you think?" He goes, "Hey, pretty good. You want to go get pizza or something?"
One of our other writers, Matt Tarsis, was excited that his kids finally wanted to watch. And, the show is pretty darn risque still. And he walked in and he was watching some intense I don't know, sex scene or something between characters, and Matt was like, "All right, enjoy. I'm gonna go in the other room."
It's always impressive how people are. It's literally a show about death, but all those sex scenes make people uncomfortable. When we get to that place where we're talking about they're not as worried, and that's a testament also to Bill to surround what it really is about with humor, all those things that are inevitable in life, and try to have some fun and some sex.
Well, I can't imagine what that was like when you first started, because it was a comedy and yet death is such a big role. How did you get that on TV? Death and comedy.
I think, well, look, it's a testament to the actors and actresses here that worked, because it's very hard to do really silly stuff and then have things with emotional stakes and have it switch on a dime. But I think we all operated under the belief that the show was going to go away, because that's how TV worked. Neil Flynn and I, we were talking last night, even though it's now lore, we had a conversation that I always thought for a second he was going to be a figment of Zach's imagination.
You people, you think of me as nothing but the janitor.
So he never talked to any other characters at first, really, just because I thought the show was going to be on and off, so quick. So for us, just getting to do it for so long is such a gift. And for me personally, getting to hear all these folks say such nice things about the experience, especially how I think we've all tried to kind of recapture it since then, was kind of really special.
That's the crazy thing, is that you go to other sets and you're like, we're like family, guys. We're like, you try to force it. We're like family. We're a family. And it doesn't feel like
there.
It doesn't feel like this ever.
Right.
It never feels like this. It gets close, but never like this.
No eagles on other sets.
Listen, man. I found my life partner while making this show, man. It's like.
By the way, this should be on the
Yeah,
Today
Zach,
Show.
Zach.
Your wife's going to watch this.
Oh, my wife is watching? I found my life partner, Casey Cobb, while making Scrubs. And we have 2 beautiful children together.
I didn't hear that.
What's the thing that you guys must get people asking you to eagle all the time? Eagle! Judy, Sarah, Johnny C, do you get people...
Girl's name. People want me to call them a girl's name. And there's a couple of go-tos, and then I keep walking.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Susan.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Susan.
He cross-gendered me.
Donald and I are doing this rewatch podcast where we...
It's called Fake Doctors, Real Friends for all of you out
Yeah,
there.
thank you for the plug. It's a very surreal experience, because we don't remember a lot of it. But it is our exact sense of humor, obviously, because we find the show very funny.
Oh, Turk, that's a stupid sitcom. I mean, that's a sitcom.
And we were cracking up at stuff you don't remember, but it's you. And it's just such a bizarre experience.
Yeah, it's like I was there, but I just don't remember.
And so we're watching it anew and enjoying it and laughing through 6 seasons thus far. And then you're like, I have no memory of doing that, but that was very, very funny.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was naked as much as I was.
You were naked a lot. You looked great.
We had a rule on that show. This is why the character of the Todd kind of exists. We really wanted it to be about comedy, but sex and love and death all intermixed. And we said, we're going to be risque sexually. And Judy and Sarah were both scantily clad a number of times, but there's a very strong female presence in the writer's room. They said it has to be equal opportunity as far. And so the only way we could make up the gap was occasionally putting Rob Maschio in a thong.
Oh, that's right. The banana hammock.
The banana hammock, yeah.
So the girls would all be like, yeah, Sarah or Judy, one of them had to wear a nightie and be kissing on some guy, so we're going to definitely put Rob in a thong.
And we saw your we almost saw your nipples.
I was naked a lot. And I remember once I had to dance naked in front of Tara Reid.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Today Show-ify this. The minimal covering that was covering my area came off during the dance. And so Tara Reid saw everything I have to offer.
I got to ask about the dream sequences. They were extravagant. I mean, what was the most expensive dream sequence you ever came up with?
The most expensive joke.
Here comes a big one.
Was I wanted Zach to be riding a scooter, and I wanted him to go in a puddle and go underwater completely, and then come up.
Where was I?
And Randall, the line producer we all love dearly, who also played Leonard, the security guard. I still work with him. He's by the way, Randall and I are Turk and JD. We just kind of flipped a little bit. He came into the writer's room and he goes, this joke's going to cost $75,000. He's like, you sure you want to do it? And at that point, I was, I was not as responsible as I think I would be now. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be really funny. He's like, it's a $75,000 joke. You sure? He's like, we're going to have a stuntman drive in with the weights attached to his pockets, so he stays underwater.
And destroy a scooter. And then because the holes were needed to be deep enough, they had the city made them. What do you call it when you put wood to secure?
Yeah. It was like we were digging a pool in the parking lot.
They had to come in and make it safe because it could the asphalt could have collapsed on us both.
You saw a manatee down there, right?
Yes, his name was Julian. Yes.
Did he say anything?
That's Julian.
He didn't, and we didn't exchange pleasantries. And then Neil says, "That's Julian."
That was all improv.
To tip our hat to Neil Flynn, that was not in the script. He was just being Neil Flynn.
I think I saw a manatee.
Was his name Julian?
We didn't exchange pleasantries.
That's Julian.
How much ad-libbing did you guys do?
I would say Neil did most of the ad-libbing. We got, we did it the way Bill wanted us to do it, and then he would say play around a little bit. But Neil would just go, it wouldn't be lines for him. It would just be Neil says something funny, and then he would go off and really crush.
1, 2.
Oh!
Yeah?
No!
Give me $500.
Everybody here, when the show's working, you can tell that the ownership of characters shifts from the writers to the actors and actresses, and everyone here would do stuff that was not on the page that we would use and take credit for. They're all so talented. The one that did it a little less because it was Johnny C, because I was not, always super prepared as a writer, and I would hand John these giant page-long monologues, and I'd be like, you got to do this word for word in about 45 minutes. So if there's anything I can help you with, you go ahead and let me know.
Is that where the Dr. Cox anger came from?
Interns, flee now! Now, there is just no way you could have known that off the top of that straw-covered scarecrow head of yours.
No, the two things that happened was I was so competitive with Billy that I decided if I was going to memorize this, I was not going to give you a cut point. You're going to damn sure stay on me the whole time. And so I would take a huge breath and then talk in kind of a Martin Scorsese syncopation, and I never gave him a cut point. Foolish me, Billy cut away whenever he wanted. And I was so panicked with being handed on Monday morning a rewrite, which was really much better than when I spent the whole weekend memorizing. I had my room soundproofed. Because Zach and Donald were responsible for so much mayhem going on in the hallway that I couldn't concentrate. And then for the first year, dogs were allowed in the hospital until one bit another one. And then
do you remember what you said about the dog? Just so you know, we all lived in a deserted hospital, and we let everybody bring their dogs, and their kids were around, people, and it was family atmosphere. And John came to me once, and he was not joking, and he had dogs, and he said, I will sacrifice one of my dogs as an offering.
I couldn't concentrate.
If we could simply make it so there's no dogs here in the building.
And of course, as karma dictates, because I couldn't stand them the most, because I was in such a panic trying to get the words in my skull, they all peed and pooped right outside my door.
All you would ever hear was Johnny go, "Get out!" And you see some poor dog wandering out of his room.
I couldn't memorize with all this stuff going on. That's why when I listened to Zachy and Donald's podcast, Fake Doctors, Real Friends, which is genius, it's all news to me because I was in my soundproof dressing room trying to remember Billy's words.
So we really did shoot in an abandoned hospital. We didn't have trailers. Each of our trailers were abandoned hospital rooms, patient rooms. And one of the things that made this family so special was we weren't on some giant backlot. We weren't on sets. I mean, obviously some of the sets, like the apartment, et cetera, the bar, they were built into the hospital. But we had our own studio. Everything was in this abandoned hospital. And so it really did bond us with the crew, obviously as a cast. The writers were all there. The editorial was all there. And it was just such a unique experience. I don't know could ever happen again because it was like we were on a ship together.
That writers was a big piece of that. And every show since then, that was my first big job. And I kind of thought, oh, that's how it works. And then on every other job, you don't often meet all the writers because you're not on the same campus altogether. Mm-hmm. And we would all eat lunch together at the lunch tent, and the writers would all come too, and we'd hang out with them, or we'd go down to the writers' room and hang out. And it's not an experience that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and you try to recreate it, but every set I go to, you know, it's great to be around actors and everything like that, but it's really about the crew, you know what I mean? And so you really try to, what we had on our set was the crew was just, like Zach said, was a part of the family, just like the actors were. We did everything with them after work. We would go to bars, we would go, like, we had a lot of nights where we all were together. And I try to do that when I go to other sets. And people aren't really up for that, you know what I mean? Especially now with all, you know, with the pandemic and stuff like that. But I don't think I'll ever experience what we had on this show again. As far as
end line, no matter what anybody else says. What? End line of the piece, no matter what anybody else says.
I was trying to get it.
Everybody here's going for it, by the way.
I was trying to get it. I want to do it.
Let's just wait.
Your turn.
I'm not going to do anything new. I'm just going to see who they pick. Watch this. I don't think any of us are ever going to have that type of experience ever again.
I've heard some of you say that this was the best time of your lives.
Yeah.
Does that still
I had
stand?
nothing to compare it to. So when we were there, I thought this is amazing. This is how it works. This is how it works on shows. So when you go to another show, and you know, it's more of an individual effort to know the entire crew's names, try to get friendly with the writers and stuff. You know, but it is something because of this experience and how it was set up that we bring, or that I bring to another job. You know, and it's impossible to repeat. But it's a wealth of experience and a journey that you can't compare to anything else, but that you can try.
Your chemistry is legendary. How did you get things done? I mean, how did you get through takes?
We laughed so much.
We laughed so hard.
Who was the worst? Who was the worst at keeping a straight face?
Watch this.
We discovered
To the point where there was a noise.
we discovered that there was a specific noise we could make, that noise, and Sarah would always start laughing. And so we would mess with her when it was like midnight and the crew was like, we need to go home.
We all have families.
But we would do it so quietly that the crew wouldn't notice that we were doing it. And
Like,
I was largely my
and
own.
a snort. And a
I was
snort.
largely my
I
own
was
worst
fake,
enemy.
and when they do that, I was like, why is she still laughing?
I would largely beat myself up because I never liked the camera to cut, and I would just shy of flailing, putting a right into my eye. If I made a mistake with some of Billy's words, I would have a temper tantrum aimed at me, and then continue.
You'd occasionally hit a wall or a paper towel dispenser.
That's the thing. I feel like Johnny knew where you know, there's going to be plywood here, and then this is just going to be an empty wall. Boom!
You don't want to hit the stud.
Right, you don't want to hit the
yeah,
stud.
Johnny knew where to not hit the
Where not to hit.
I was just thinking last night how it was the best job in the world because you knew you were going to belly laugh several times a day. And that was just obviously the scripts, but also just we loved each other so much and we cracked each other up. And there was so much downtime that we just laugh all day long. And I haven't had any experience like that ever. I
don't even eat lunch with the crew and everything anymore. I just go right to my trailer.
Well, I think COVID, you know, obviously changed all that.
All of us.
Yeah.
And
You're on other sets and you're FaceTiming them.
Oh, I FaceTime him all the time. I once FaceTime. We had something that we had to do, and I FaceTimed him, and he was pissed because I couldn't make it. I was stuck at work. He's like, put the AD on the phone. I was like, get out of here. Don't put the AD on the phone.
I was like, I want to talk to the first assistant director.
Like, no.
Well, and speaking of phones, you had a phone number that you put on the show, and did that
Cal
phone?
Turk.
Yeah, call Turk.
That was insane. I can't believe they let us do that. You know, no one in America can have that number again because they didn't realize what was going to happen. We called up and I'm like, is there an open phone number? Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, because you can't say a real phone number on TV. We've all lived a world of, you know, them saying 555,
Right.
you know, and like, I want to get a real one. I'm going to put, this is our promotion idea. I'm going to put Turk's phone number on television. We had a map of everywhere in the world that people would call from. And my weirdest experience, because I got so excited that people from everywhere were watching the show, is I took the phone home one night, and these guys all know, I'm going to curse here so we can bleep it out, but these guys all know my wife and who she is as a human being. And I was getting home from work around midnight. I walked up into the bedroom, and I was talking, I answered it, and it was a super fan. And she was like, oh my God, and tell me about this, and tell me about that. And I'm like, well, the cool thing about the show, and Krista goes, hang that phone up. Wait. There's a pause, and then this person on the line goes, oh my God, is that Jordan?
So this was a phone that everyone would answer it from time to time?
It was in the production office, and sometimes you turn it off because it rang literally nonstop. And sometimes it was just, everyone was trying to work, so they would turn it off. The second you turned it on, it would just ring nonstop. And so it would just get passed around. Like you'd randomly pick it up and go, hi, and someone would be calling from like Australia. And then and you'd hand it off to Donald, or you'd hand it off to anyone walking by. But if it was on, it was ringing.
Speaking of phones, I mean, have you guys received Scrubs gifts? Because they're everywhere. I mean, I use your gifts all the time.
I haven't received any, but I've seen one my favorite one is when we're rubbing our faces against each other.
I see it all the time.
That's my favorite one.
I get Elliot digging your own grave. That one gets sent to me.
I get Carla.
Carla looking sassy.
There's one that has a subtitle that screams internally. When I'm screaming.
I've seen yours because your biggest one out there is man not caring.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It seems as though a younger generation is now discovering Scrubs and going through it all over again.
That's great.
You have young people, you don't understand, your show got me through nursing school. And then you realize, oh my God, that was 20 years ago. It's happened so fast, and it's also like what you were saying, watching a show that's hilarious, you're kind of outside of yourself. So it's kind of, I'm a fan. So an episode will come up, and I'm like, it's kind of like scrolling through your phone. You just watch it, and through TikTok, this thing that I don't have, and I've never. My kid has become hip to the show, and they love it. It's amazing.
I still feel like 2001 was 2 weeks ago. To be honest with you, it really does feel that way.
Hey, look, it's a good segue to everybody here was talking last night about how grateful we are. So it's just not patting ourselves on the back, it's how grateful we are that people still watch, still care, still are invested. It's such a gift. And Scrubs trivia for when these guys get to their my podcast. My podcast is doing very well, by the way. It's called Fake Doctors, Real Friends. Thanks, guys. I put it together. I hired Donald and Zach. Needed some work. But here's some trivia. Is in the finale of the show, the real finale, which is season 8, Zach walks down the hall. And the speech he gives, we really spent a weekend trying to write a speech that is both about being a doctor and about being an actor, actress, or TV writer. And his speech is really about what it means to do what we all do, because he says if you can even just make someone feel better for a second, that's all you can really ask for. And so for us, all of the people that take the time to come to us individually or online and tell us that this meant something to them, this is a great opportunity to say thanks, because I know we're all really grateful.
One of the coolest parts was over the pandemic, all of the doctors and nurses that we heard from.
Yes.
That was super special.
And that was also great to do doing the podcast. It was nice to have people call in, and actually not just that, but also it was like it's a love letter to all of the people who were on the front line for COVID and stuff like that. That was nice to give back to them and tell them how much we appreciated them while we were going through, which is not over apparently, this pandemic for the last year.
I have an
2 years
idea for an ending. The poison dance?
No, that's not happening.
It would make me so happy.
Yeah, I know. It would make everybody so happy, but that ain't happening.
As I recall, you showed up to work, you were late, and you didn't know what we were shooting that day.
Right, no.
And he walks in the room, and they go, you haven't read it? And he goes, no. I go, oh, you're dancing to Poison.
And I was like, oh, okay. And the whole room is packed with cast, crew, writers, everybody. Like, I was like, is this an event? And
who are we going to watch?
What's going on? And they're like, you're dancing. And I was like, oh. And they played the song. And I mean, come on, man. I grew up on New Edition, and I grew up on Belle Biv DeVoe, so that was really easy. And then Fortnite took it. I am forever a legend, and I'm very honored. Listen, I am forever a legend to my children who play that game, because they're like, Dad, I'm doing your dance! And so,
you suddenly become relevant to your kid.
Yeah.
Right?
At one point, I did complain about it, and I had every 12-year-old boy Twittering or TikToking how much of a loser I am. And then my son looked at me and he said, Dad, this makes you an even bigger legend. And I was like, yeah, I'll accept that.
We were at a pool yesterday, and they started cranking TLC's I Don't Want No Scrubs. And Donald's like, don't start dancing. Do not start dancing. Don't embarrass us at this pool by start dancing to TLC Scrubs.
Well, I won't tell the story, but you know why.
There have been a couple times when we've been overserved and we couldn't help ourselves.
Yep.
But dance too, I Don't Want No Scrubs.
That's right. In the middle of a club. I don't want no scrubs.
almost going to do it.
That almost happened.
Almost happened.
Thank
Yeah,
you guys.
thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.